Welcome to What the Frac. We are your fractional team, and today we break down marketing trends, strategies, and tactics in 30 minutes or less so that you can do the fun stuff like be creative.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Nicole.
Back for another week of What the Frac Live. And this week, I'm really excited for the conversation because although it's not marketing necessarily, and it's just a big topic in business right now. It's a big topic in all of our lives. So I want everyone to buckle in. We're going to be talking about DEI, how that aligns, how does AI fit into the whole picture? And we have an amazing guest to talk about this. Today we have Dr. Vic Baker with us. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction here because you have such a great background to be talking about this topic. And I want to start the conversation off by saying that I know that DEI is political right now. I know that people are sitting there probably listening and being like, oh, whichever way they lean, they probably have a feeling about what we're about to say. But really, I don't think this is a one side or another topic. I think that this is something that is going to affect businesses. It's going to affect your growth no matter where you stand. So I just want to start this by saying anyone who's listening, who's thinking about this in a political stance, we here at What the Frac tend to stay out of the political space, but we stay in the business space. And so I think that is going to be a big piece here. But with that being said, Dr. Vic Baker is an executive leadership expert and the founder of a professional development firm focused on building diverse, equitable, and high-performing organizations. With over 25 years leading teams across the energy sector and nonprofit world, Dr. Baker brings real-world experience to the evolving conversation around DEI. And in today's episode, DEI is the alignment we're looking at for 2025 and why it's more critical than ever to move from performative to purposeful. So I love your mission. So can you explain a little bit to people what your definition of DEI is and how you see that fitting into business?
Oh, my goodness. The DEI is ever changing. But the let's focus on, and what I'd like to start the conversation out is we really focus on the E in the DEI, and that is equity. There's without a doubt, there's going to be diversity throughout an organization. That diversity can live through the easy stuff, race, ethnicity, gender, but also in culture. It also in age brackets as well as generational gaps. So diversity is an easy piece that I think all of us can really hold on to and see in our everyday lives, right? And here in California, we see diversity all the time. But the equity piece is the real big piece that we really focus on regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is what's the difference people ask between equality and equity. And it's really comes down to where you start from, and is everyone starting on an equal basis? Someone who is born into this earth with different abilities don't start at the same as others with different abilities. So that starting point can be different. So what can we do to look to that individual with different abilities to perhaps make life available for them to succeed at the same rate as somebody else? So instead of asking them to find ways, what can we do to ensure that we make life, easier or a path forward for somebody with a different ability to succeed the same way or have the same opportunities? So when we talk about the DEI, I think the very actionable item is the equity that we truly try to focus on with regards to DEI. And then, of course, inclusion. How do we ensure that voices are heard, right? That's where that comes from. So that's kind of my overall definition is truly the equitable piece of DEI is the actionable verb that we really focus on in organizations and how our work is interpreted by the people who hire us.
Yeah.
Tamara? No, I mean, I think that's really good because everybody's got kind of a different idea of what it is. And so clarifying that up top is good. But, I want to go back, Nicole, to what you touched on in the beginning and the hot topic, which is there's a huge realignment that's happening. And so I think we should dive into that. What is happening right now with DEI? And then the follow-up would be like, how are companies supposed to navigate this so that they are doing something for business growth? But let's just start first with setting the scene. What is happening right now with DEI?
So, first of all, when we talk about the topic of DEI, when we focus on the race ethnicity piece of DEI, it isn't new. This is cyclical, and there is always an uptick and a downtick and an uptick. It really is cyclical when it comes to the attention it receives. In California, back in the late 1990s, there was a Prop 209 to eliminate affirmative action within all public-related state-funded organizations that passed in the late 90s. But that was a point where we brought attention to what people appeared to have affirming different races or ethnicities getting special treatment. Since then, we've had the George Floyd, what I call the George Floyd era in 2020, where it really pushed organizations to revisit the fact that, hey, let's look, things aren't really fair. There are people who are being treated differently because of, name it, ... And why are they being treated differently? What can we do to ensure that that doesn't happen in our organization? There was a huge push from a corporate level to government level to every level you can imagine. There was really push of looking at the inequalities that exist, the systematic inequalities that exist, whether people believe in systematic racism or not, or systematic stereotypes or not. I, for one, of course, believe that they exist, and how I can find them and show you, and not only statistics and numbers, but in policy as well, where they live. And so that drove an increased awareness specifically around diversity, equity, inclusion, and the mistreatment of certain individuals or certain types of individuals within organizations. Since then, of course, the cycle, remember I told you cyclical, it comes in. And so we're getting attention from this new administration, and there's a bit of a backlash on, hey, did we boomerang too far with respect to what came out of George Floyd, and this emphasis on repairing or correcting some wrongs that were happening within organizations? Absolutely. So this is some attention that we're getting. Nothing different than nothing. This is something that should have been expected, this rebound. And if you talk to certain ethnicity groups, they can understand, because they lived through it throughout from generation to generation to generation. They understand that these types of attention mechanisms only have a certain life, and this life is going to receive this attention. So here we are today. New administration from every level has instituted an eye and awareness, and it has some backlash. And certain companies have taken a step back from their diversity efforts, taken a step back from their DEI efforts, and what that meant for them with regards to what they believe in from a core value and from a company value with respect to equity within their organizations, diversity within our organizations. That's where we are today. We're getting an eye on it. And so we're responding as an organization. We have to respond to that. Our job is leadership, execution, and executive coaching, organizational development. We want to, and my motto is always turning potential into I'm sorry, I messed up my motto. Turning potential into performance. And so how can an organization be best performed? I am a big believer. There's every statistic that shows you that diversity, organizations who embrace diversity, who embrace equity, far outperform organizations who don't. And so if you're about performance, if you're in an organization about performance, and at the very end of the day, you're trying to reach your mission as a nonprofit, profit goals as a for-profit organization, you want diversity and equity in your organization. We're here to show you how to get there.
Yeah. You know, it's such an interesting topic, because there's so much complexity to it. There's so much, you know, we like to talk a lot about DEI around race and all of that, but there's also around, like you said, gender, age, all of these different pieces that fit into it. And one of the things that Tamara and I talk about a lot on here is knowing your core values, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you are a company whose core values is not to include DEI, it's the private sector. You own your company. We live in the United States. You can do that. But when we look at statistics, if we take feeling and we take emotion out of it, right, and we just look at the business statistics around it, there are statistic after statistic that says that a diverse leadership group among corporations equals higher C-suite equals higher revenue. And I think it's something like when you have diversity just in gender on the C-suite and the founders, you see a 14% higher revenue model than not having that, right? So, I mean, from just a pure business standpoint, if we just simplify it, and I know this is a way oversimplification, you're talking about things like, how can you build products that have features that really resonate with your customer base if your customer base is diverse and you don't have diversity within your company, right? There's a lot of pieces to this. How can a company that really maybe has had some old school core values, maybe is looking at how they can incorporate DEI without becoming a frontline warrior on the DEI battle, how can they actually incorporate this into their business?
So many ways, and without giving our trade secrets away. And I will say it starts with the team that you bring in. It starts with the commitment that you have as leaders. So who, for a for-profit S or C corp organization who has a board of directors, are they imposing a directive from their mission and vision to have diversity and equity and inclusion somehow integrated? Do I have to call it diversity? Do I have to call it equity? And do I have to call it inclusion? You don't. You don't have to. And that's one of the very first things that that has come out, and what we are really doing to work with organizations today is that we want the same type of success, but if the name has a bad tenor to it, okay. And we developed this blueprint for success that we call the CHAMPS model. And we've trademarked this idea of the CHAMPS model. And it starts with customer-centric mindset. And that's both internal and external. Right? And it really focuses on strategies that really leverage whoever your customer is in their journey map, their NPS optimization, and their real-time feedback. And we want to start there. How are you working with the external customers and your internal customers, right? That's the C in CHAMPS. And then H in CHAMPS is your high integrity leadership. Those are the principles in executive coaching and your executive leadership programs. We help organizations really cultivate and transplant ethical decision-making. And I mean that when I say ethical decision-making, enhancing trust, engagement, accountability. How do we do that? All right. And then we focus on the A, which is agile, having some agility and some accountability. Can you believe that? I'm throwing something out there. How about some accountability and some KPIs that we can really focus on? Where is our diversity? How are we promoting people in the organization? How are we doing performance reviews? And do they differ based on certain demographics? Do they differ based on able-bodied and folks who are disabled? Do they differ on race and gender? Do they differ? But we need to be able to have the data and look at it to really make those determinations, right? So the agile transformation really helping teams and leaders be flexible and being data-driven decisions and having data-driven decision-making tools. And so that is integrating KPIs. So that's the A. And then for the M is really taking that data and driving excellence with that data, implementing comprehensive data and analytics and frameworks for efficiency and to optimize that performance. You remember on the back end of this, I say we turn potential into performance, is really about driving that performance. And as you just said, what does performance do? And what does diversity do to the bottom line? What does diversity do to your mission? It really increases the amount of performance and the end product of what we're trying to accomplish here, whether that's driving your mission more efficiently and creating a higher KPI on your mission, or driving profits, right? Mm-hmm. And then the last two pieces are people first culture. In any organization, the most important asset are your people. And so how do you create and sustain a people first culture? How do you enhance workforce engagement? How do you create motivation? How do you create and increase productivity? And so that comes with emphasizing emotional intelligence tools, emphasizing cultural intelligence tools, and really implementing that. And I'm talking, when I say implement it, it needs to be all part of your DNA. It can't be a separate standalone organization. It needs to be embedded, no different than safety is embedded, no different than budgeting and finances are embedded in every piece of the organization. And that's how we get to the S, because as long as it's integrated, it becomes sustainable. And that's what the S is, sustaining success. That is your strategic planning. That is ensuring organizations build long-term value through all types of environmental and socially responsible business practices. Hopefully that helps.
I hear trends, Tamara. I hear trends that we've been hearing through all of our episodes, and we did not plan it. I swear, we did not tell him what to say here.
So I want you guys to really focus on champs. Champs is something that we're really pushing, and everybody in any org, who wouldn't want to be a champ?
I mean, well, so I was loving what you were saying, and all of it, I was nodding my head because I was like, yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I wonder, I mean, for a large organization that has a dedicated team, that seems like something that is obviously manageable. What about for small organizations that want to get started on the right foot as they grow, but they don't have the resources and the capacity to manage everything that you just said in champs? What would you say a small organization should focus on to make sure that they're getting started on, like I said, on the right foot?
So champs can be integrated in any size organization. We're an organization about we have 15 full-time employees here at Equitify, so we have to start at home. So I consider ourselves a small business, and we have to impose it right here at home, which means that at a 15-person company, when you talk about resources, we don't have an HR department, we don't have an accounting department, we don't have a safety department, we don't have all these departments that a big organization would have, and so I have to outsource quite a bit of this, including portion of it, which is my HR. And so if I have to outsource HR, because it's essential, even small, no matter where you are, you have to have these different types of expertise around you to be successful. Would you agree? So as I coach executives, one of the first things I have to teach you can't do everything. You cannot do everything. If you're busy at the first of the month doing all your invoices, every hour that you spend doing invoices is an hour that you're not spending doing your work. And so that is a double dip in the amount of money that we're not bringing in to the organization, or a double dip in the mission that we can't meet, whatever that may be for our nonprofit. So let's look at value and efficiency in that respect. As we start to bring in these outside resources to help us, we can do two things. One, we can, as we bring them in, we can ensure that they follow the same types of values that we have. So identify what your core values are. My very first core value for our company is integrity. Right? And so every vendor I have, they need to meet a threshold of integrity. Right? They need to be customer centered and be responsive. So as I'm bringing them in, I need them to develop my corporate documents, which are my HR policies and directives. They need to meet certain standards, and I'm going to ask them to check for equity driven. I'm going to ask them to check for diversity. I'm going to ask them to check for KPIs and ensure those things exist. So when I open it up and I look at it, finally when it's done and they help me do this, because I'm not an HR specialist, it's there. And now I have my protocol and my actionable items, and I just go through the checklist on things that I need to be looking out for. Now, small, large, medium, big, however you want to talk, we all have to have a strategic plan. Would you agree? And in that strategic plan, we have to have some goals. I don't think you can go to the bank or do anything without a business plan. You should have a business plan and you should follow it. Those KPIs aren't just those KPIs, while the bottom line is the mission or the profit. How do I get there, and how I can get there more efficiently, and how I can differentiate myself from my competitor? Is that diversity mix? Is that equity mix? Is that how it starts with the people? Who's in the organization? What are their goals? And ensure that they get fair and equal and equitable treatment, right? And they have the same opportunities of mobility throughout the organization. They're treated fairly. I have to start there. So it transcends any market space that you're in. If you're thinking about it and it's part of your core values from the beginning, you should not be able to miss it. Now, how it's baked into the DNA. Now, are you perfect at it? We do this for other organizations, and we're not perfect at it. At this moment, I would say if you were to look on our website and you see the number of women versus men on our website, women far outweigh the number of men. Right? And so are we equitable there? Is there some work that we can do? There's some adjustments we can make as we move forward, right? We can, hey, let's look at it. How are we making hiring decisions? Where are we going to do our recruiting? Right? Those type of opportunities. So just a thought.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'm so happy you said that, because two things that you said that are really important in that piece that I want to make sure we call out, which is recently I was on a panel about women in tech and women in marketing. And that was one of the questions that came up. A guy came up to the microphone and he said, I feel like I'm constantly spinning my wheels on like being just worried I'm going to make the wrong decision here and I'm going to do something wrong. How can I, make sure that that's not the case? And I said to him that two things. One, we can only do the best we can do with the information we have at any given time, right? Like business is about that. And two, setting up the foundational pieces so that you're not constantly thinking about it, right? If you have these core values, there's so many startups I go into that have these core values. They put it on their website, they put it on their wall, they, tell everyone about it. And then when push comes to shove and something happens, they don't make a decision that's aligned with that core value. And that really loses trust with your employees. It loses trust with your vendors, with your clients. And so, if you can try to make the best decisions, make sure you have your integrity or whatever it is that is part of your core values. And then when a situation arises, making sure that your company and your employees know that you're going to make a decision that is in line with everything you've been talking about and that those core values that are on your wall, that is going to build the trust more than you doing everything perfectly all the time. And I think that is just such an important piece that we have to let people know, as entrepreneurs, we make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. It's about that accountability, like you said, being accountable that you can figure out what that mistake is, being able to pivot, being able to say, you're sorry, I'm human, right? We keep hearing about human-led organizations. And then also transparency. So for me, and Tamara, I don't want to speak for you, but I know that I've been in organizations where I'm a woman pitching for money and I get treated a lot differently than the men get treated, right? And I think that transparency for me, when we talk about things like pay gap, or we talk about things like PTO or paternity leave or maternity leave, all of these pieces, and even ladders to success in your career. How do I move up? How are promotions given? When there's a transparency around all of those pieces, you are at X level. You need to do this, this, and this to get to that Y level. And at that level, this is the pay range that we pay. Those are things those transparency pieces are things that allow you to not think about diversity without losing diversity.
Come on.
Yes, I got a clap. Okay.
Applause.
Absolutely. You nailed it.
Yes.
Transparency. And I heard a lot about putting policies and procedures together to mitigate our biases. We get comfortable in doing things the same way, and we have a bias and a tendency to hire people that look and feel and think like we do. So what policies and procedures and what metrics can we have so we can look at and say, hey, I might be trending in a way that I need to turn left a little bit. The last 3 people I hired are just like me. They do A, B, and C because I think that's the level of success and it's easier. The hard part is recognizing that I have a bias, and how do I do that is to do the research, is to be transparent about it. How am I doing my performance evaluations? And I'm talking to leaders right now. How are you doing your performance evaluations? And is there some inequities between something, whatever it may be? Have you looked at it? Could it be? And we all have biases. They're the easy way for us to operate in this world. And we have blind spots that we may not know and we may not recognize. but I may need somebody on my team that is totally opposite of me to help our team perform.
And that's such a good point. And it actually makes me think because, we're here, we started out for fractional executives, right? That's why it's called What the Frac. And we are all about how that new, C-suite looks like. And there's a real opportunity now because fractionals are becoming such a part of companies to say, okay, you know what? I probably do hire people that think like me, that look like me. So what I need to do is start looking at that and going, okay, I need to get someone who is the opposite, so I can get diverse opinions in my company. And with fractionals, you're able to do that with less commitment, right? You're able to say, okay, come in, let's try this out. And let's see if this works. Because I mean, I know for myself, right? I love to surround myself with people who have contrary opinions because that pokes holes in what I'm thinking and only makes it better. And most really good business people, they do want that. So but they don't necessarily know that by their hiring decisions may exclude them from getting the benefit of that.
Yeah.
So fractionals may be a very good choice in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other two things that you can think about too is, I know we don't want to tip too far into AI, but like actually asking, I heard someone the other day said they trained an AI agent to find blind spots in their thinking. So they'll put in like blog posts or they'll put in contracts or things like that and ask it to look through and find their blind spots once it learns who they are. And then the other piece is like, remember, this is an evolutionary thing. This is we have been built this way as humans to think this way because of survival reasons, because of different things in our past, because of all these stuff. So like, don't be so hard on yourself. I think it comes down to the same thing as like healing your trauma or any of that is like, I'm not going to not be triggered all of a sudden by something, but I now know that that's my trigger or that's my bias or that's the piece that like the reason I'm that way. Okay, how do I put the steps in place to make sure that I don't do that anymore or that I act differently in that situation, right? And so I think that like we have to be like a little bit, I think that the vocabulary of DEI, of bias, of all of these pieces have been so villainized that in the business world that we have to be like, no, we don't have biases. I don't have any biases, Tamara. I'm perfect.
Oh, of course, Nicole. I think you're so right on that because then it also it says that there's weakness and vulnerability, and especially for startup founders, for people who are running big companies, weakness and vulnerability, they can't be weak and vulnerable. So I think it's a really good place to start is maybe we can change some of the vocabulary on this to show that like this is what is needed for business growth and what's really good for a strong leadership team and a strong team.
Yes. You guys made so many good points. I mean, when you speak about weak, are you the weak person who is going to get in a fight or walk away from it? Right. It's where do you see the strength? And I think there's a lot of us who find or see or promote strength in very toxic ways. Right? And so it's stronger of a person and more sustainable for that leader to be vulnerable with their own selves, just like you said, and be able to look internally and say, hey, I have this. So I'm in a unique, great place because the majority of the people who I work with, my customers in executive coaching, come to me or two ways. The majority of them come to me because they're looking to improve themselves. So they're already starting off on a great foot. They're going to that workout, right? They want to go to the workout and say, that's great. The other ones come to me because they're on some type of disciplinary measure and folks saying, hey, you need some help in this area, right? And we have to do some assessment and do some work. And people are fighting the fact that they have a disciplinary action according to them. So when we talk about the people who come to me, they already start off on a great foot because they're looking to themselves and trying to improve themselves. I don't know if, regardless of what your definition is around a successful leader, regardless of what it is, one attribute that they will always maintain is self-improvement. They will always, what does Covey call it? Sharpening the saw.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Self-reflection. Those are great leaders. People who call themselves leaders are different. So the way I phrase it is, you're not a leader if no one's following you. It's not a leader because you're a boss, because you're somebody's supervisor. That doesn't make you a leader. That makes you a manager of people. Right?
Yeah.
Right. That makes you a manager. That doesn't make you a leader. But when you're talking about leaders really encourage and motivate people to follow them. That's why the CHAMPS model is so important in that respect. And when we speak about the biases and where all those things come from, media is a big one. You know, social impacts on culture is a big one. When we have people migrating to the United States because they're coming from war-torn countries, they have a different perspective on life than we may have. And to try to impose that on, this is the way things should be done here is because I think what I have is right, you're refusing the creativity and the respective lived experience of the people that you may be leading. And the idea is to promote that lived experience, bring it out because it can help the company grow. Right? Yeah. I'm just going to throw this out here. Not that they did this, but I'm just going to throw a story out, and it's not a true story. I'm just making this example. But if Apple invented a phone that only for right-handers, because they don't have somebody who's left-handed on the team to say, hey, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
know, well, I mean? And I think that's a perfect point, which is like, by silencing other people's, we talk about in marketing about it has to feel right for the people you're marketing to, right? Like I always ask my team the question of like, why, and I'm not going to curse here, but why the F should they care, right? Like, why should they care about these features that you are so, excited about, or that you spent all this money? And a lot of times companies, when they market, their messaging is very much around like, you should like this because, right? And they want to become that need to have instead of that want to have. And they know all the like terminology that they should be getting to, but they don't know how to message it, right? And at the end of the day, the best messaging we've talked about, the best branding that we've talked about, the ones that we do case studies on, is because it resonates with people. It works for those people. It connects to those people. And if you don't have someone on your staff who can come from that piece, how are you going to resonate with people?
Yeah, you miss it. You end up you miss it. You end up having commercials that you regret having. Right?
Oh, that's my thing.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah. And once again, it goes back to core values right there. And
it goes back to core values. Who's in the room making these decisions? Again, so let's start with this top down. And where does the top with that diversity metric? Where's the top with making sure that we have at our board of directors level a diverse board? And that goes with age, ethnicity, race, gender, all of that incorporated, and occupation. All of that matters from the top down. Where can you go? And then you're going to hire your CEO, and they're going to hire their next level. And it needs to filter from the top down. And if the top isn't holding people accountable, it's not going to get done. If you don't have a fear, if you don't have a KPI in place that's going to hold you accountable, why would I ever look at it? Why would I ever be intrigued to look at my biases? Why would I be able to intrigued to look at my tendencies? And it's okay to look at your tendencies. I absolutely have tendencies, and I put in my goals every year. And part of that is I do a 360, and I ask my team, what do you see me doing, and what can I do better? How can I better show up for you? Right? And each one in my one-on-ones with my team is, hey, you're a different person than that person. So why would I treat you all the same? My job as a leader is to try to study and understand how my team is motivated at an individual level. And if I have too many people to do that, then maybe you need to tier it a little bit.
Right? So, okay. We just went over so many things. My head is spinning because there's so many things that I could say right now that will bring us down way too many rabbit holes. But my question to you is, what's the trend? Where do you see, or where do you even hope to see companies going with DEI, with diversity in general, with the political landscape? Like, what is the trend that we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years?
So we launched, I'll give you a prime example. We launched Champs in January of this year in response to the pushback on DEI. Okay. And it has garnered rave reviews on how we're pushing this aspect, because it's leadership driven, top down, integrated into all, looking at policies, looking at procedure. The idea of DEI is built and embedded in there without calling it DEI. Mm-hmm. So if I get the same effect of what we used to call DEI and ensure that it's ingrained in all the systems that exist, then I'm having the same benefit without having that nomenclature of what we call DEI. Right? Mm-hmm. If that's the impetus, is to get out of that word because like you said, it's been villainized, then we have a solution for you, right? And so the trend is, and the trend is shown. I mean, you can see there's some very public news around some companies who went away from DEI and they're suffering at this moment. They're not looking very well at this moment because of the impact and what has happened because of it. No names, but I think we all know who they may be. So what I do see is that there's a FAFO that has happened. FAFO that has happened. I think you guys got that. So the trend, I feel, is let's move into the same direction. Let's get out of this nomenclature. Let's understand that we understand that diversity does impact our bottom line and our mission, and we want to continue down that route. So what, we don't call it affirmative action anymore, right? And we're not doing affirmative action in quotas. We're looking at policy driven that is sustainable. We're not trying to make the numbers exactly the same. What we want to do is create opportunities for people to succeed.
Yeah.
And we want to eliminate homogeneous actions in departments. Right? We want to create that diversity, which is going to help our business grow ultimately. So I think trend is, and what we've seen is more excitement around this Champs model as we move forward. And we've had customers reach out to us because of the Champs. They've seen us do work with organizations and they're saying, hey, what is this Champs? What is the Champs? And so everyone wants to be a champ, and we're going to continue to promote that. So I do feel that people are stepping up in a louder way than they were in the past as a result of the pushback. They're really saying, hey, I'm doubling down on this. We're not going to allow the administration to take away our mission or to remove the value or efficiency and the productivity of our mission because they have it in their head that this is not a good thing. No. We know the numbers don't lie. And if you're data driven of an organization, you're going to see this. The last piece I will make on this is the trend. We focus a lot on the companies in these trends and the organizations. I want to really focus on this younger generation who has to feed into this system. They're coming, this is the most socially conscious, environmentally conscious generation that exists, and the wealthiest generation as well. So they have this idea that I don't have to be here. I can go anywhere I want to go at any time I want to do it. So they want to belong to an organization who is also socially conscious. So when we're talking about the future of our generation, where 60 to 65% of any company right now, their employees are at, or 65% of their employees are at retirement age, you better worry about them. And if your policies and your values don't align with a culture that meets their socially conscious mindset, oh, I hate to be you as a company.
Yeah.
And real companies are recognizing that.
You know what?
Down.
That's the thing that, I'm going to leave everybody with this last piece, Tamara. I have to do it. I have to go on my soapbox. Tamara knows sometimes I have to, but I think that we as a society right now feel that we don't have power. And I think that one of the things that I'm going to say is that both customers, the power of the dollar, where you spend your money, and employees, right? The power of where you spend your time is so shape shifting in in this world, right?
Yes.
Companies in the private sector can do whatever they want, right? And that's part of being in America. That's part of that freedom. That's part of freedom of commerce and all of that, right?
Yes.
I can be as non-diverse as I want to be, but at the end of the day, consumers have the power to say, I'm not going to buy from this company. And employees who feel like they're stuck in a company that they're trying to change from the inside out, or that they're not being treated properly, or that doesn't align with them, you have the power to change where you're working. And I know that's an oversimplification. And I know that right now people are hurting for money and for jobs. And there's lots of things that go into whether you change your job or not. But when I was on that panel, I actually did this. I said, one girl came up and she said, how do I change the organization from the inside out? And I said, you don't. And I looked at the 5 women that were on the stage with me and I said, each one of them own their own company. How many of you are hiring? And they all raised their hand. And I said, you now have 5 people you can go apply to another job with. Right. That's how you change. Because when their bottom line hurts, when they can't find employees to work for them, when companies are hurting in those spaces, they will change. And so that's how you can make a change every day.
Yeah. And man, another applause, really. You're absolutely right. Make the change that way. And they will have to change or they won't survive.
Yeah.
Or to be too late. You're going to try to bring in somebody too late to try to change it. But no, now you have a reputation that not people don't align with.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderfully said.
It's simple when it comes down to it. You have to resonate. Customers need to resonate with the companies. Employees need to resonate with the company. Yes. And the company's choice is to behave the way that they want to. And so if that affects customers, then they're going to lose money. It's pretty simple.
And I will leave with this also. So the third perspective in it, because you brought AI up. So I do believe that companies feel as though that they can AI themselves out of some of the employee work that exists. And I will offer that while AI should only be used as a tool, garbage in equals garbage out. And if you're using AI to replace or embellish or remove yourselves out of doing the hard work of being equitable company, you're going to find yourself with all that information that you fed into your AI system is going to equal continued bias and inequities within your organization. And you're going to double down on your inefficiency and your ineffectiveness. And you're going to double down and make it faster of you going out of business, perhaps, or not achieving your mission. So I will offer that, and that's the third piece that we hadn't really talked about, and didn't have to talk about until recently for the last 2 to 3 years, right? But people, customer, and AI.
Yeah.
So Dr. Baker.
Yes.
Yeah, this has been great. And I love also when Nicole can get on her soapbox.
I love it. And she did very eloquently. She did that.
If people want to know more about Champs, how do they get in touch with you?
First and foremost, you can always get a hold of us through our website, equitify.us, EQUITIFY.us. It has all the information. We speak to it. We have some examples of how we've implemented it, so on and so forth. We'll be coming out with a book. One of our team members is writing a book with regards to Champs, and so that'll be out soon. We have actually a couple of publications that'll be out pretty soon with regards to it, and we embellish Champs in everything that we do. So please go to our website, get as much information as you can. It has all of our contact information out there. This has been, of course, proven. We continue to educate individuals throughout the state of California. We did 10,000 people and trained 10,000 people last year alone, using first in person, and our learning management system is called Floatify. Is a growing system where we have really short, long, mid-size, bite-size, edible work that we can provide you via your phone or your laptop. That's educational opportunities for you. So equitify.us, you can see us at floatify.us as well. All of those things work for us to get in touch with us. But thank you. And then, of course, people are going to log in and see this YouTube. So thank you for even having me, because you guys have been fantastic. You have great nuggets, great soapbox presentation. Great. I hope you bring me back.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can talk all day. I love this crowd. So thank you again.
Oh, love it. Well, if you have not joined us on the aforementioned YouTube page, please subscribe to us. We come out with new experts every week, including troubleshootings, case studies, all of the things to help you grow your business. Join our community over on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Instagram, socials. Our newsletter comes out every week as well. So if you have not subscribed or joined our community, please join our ever-growing community. And Tamara, I'll see you next week.
See everybody next week.
All right. Thank you, Lex. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.